But we're going to look at building your own software tonight with a bunch of different AI tools. I'm going to start with the really simple stuff, then show you what's possible with some of the more dedicated tools. Now, of course, when you go into this level, there's only so much you can do with a free product. So free ChatGPT, free Google Gemini, free Perplexity will all get you some of the way there. But when you really want to do the good things like building databases and all that, you either have to interact with web servers and get instructions for that, or you get on a system which will do all of that for you. And I'll show you some of that. Pretty much the last thing I'll show you, because that's where you can build really impressive things. I've commercially released a number of pieces of software using that tool as well, which I only didn't even know about 6 weeks ago. And now suddenly I'm releasing software on a weekly basis. It's just kind of silly. What it is, though, it's putting in your hands the ability to be able to build the systems you need. So if you need it to do a specific thing for a specific purpose, and that off-the-shelf stuff you're buying at $29 a month or $49 a month isn't quite enough, well, you can build your own essentially. So what I'm going to do is share my screen and we're going to start to get to work at what this all looks like and what it kind of means to build software. What is this software that we're building? And is it software or is it cloud software? Look, we're just playing with the ideas here of what these may be, but really what we're doing is building stuff that you can use that's going to let you do the things you can't do now because you're stuck with whatever software is available out there. So this one, Base44, is a system we're going to look at last. I'm going to start though with ChatGPT because I think when we're trying to build some software, the first thing we need to do is do a bit of research. Now you would have noticed that our ChatGPT 5 came in, and now they've got like the GPT-5 Pro, which is now the research grade intelligence. But we're not going to do the research grade. I think we can just work with their regular model. But what we're going to do is do a bit of research. We're going to do some deep research here, selecting that from the plus sign, and then we're going to find out a bit about what we need. So I'm just out of nowhere going to pick out an app. I need ideas for what functionality, an app for, let's just say, coaches, specifically in life, specifically in life coaching and lifestyle advisory would do, what they need. So advisory, gosh, I'm just having a terrible night with typing tonight. What they would need. So I'm not going to ask you a huge, massive question. Just saying, I need some ideas for what kind of functionality and app for those kind of people would specifically need. No reason at all. I'm actually building a coaching app myself. I've been working on it today. This is completely unrelated though, so it'll be something a little bit more simple. So we're going to put that away. I can also go into things like Google Gemini and say the same thing, do a bit of deep research, find out a little bit more about it. Even Perplexity, do the same thing. Look at some research. You go deep research on any topic. Only problem is that deep research on Perplexity it's a bit slow. So if we look in ChatGPT's come back, it's given us some ideas. So I'm just going to answer the questions here. I usually use the voice prompt in ChatGPT, so I think it's much more efficient. So the primary users are coaches, but there will be a secondary user who will be the client who may have a front end that shows their bookings and that kind of thing. Secondly, the platforms we're targeting are mostly web, but that will be appearing on the mobile as well. I'm looking for just core features at the moment. Some of the more advanced tools such as gamification and analytics can come further down the track. So I'd like to make an allowance for that, just not do it right now. And the kind of goals I've got is things like habit tracking, communication between the client and the coach. I don't want billing at the moment because I think that's a whole lot of complication that we don't need. I do like the idea of content delivery in the form of maybe, motivational messages, nothing too big, not courses or anything, just a few motivational messages. So now I've got that in. I'm just going to ask it to go and do its research based upon that. Any second now, I'll work out what I said. There we go. Off it goes. Same with Google Gemini. It's going to start some research. Perplexity has already done its research. So it's actually been really quick tonight. So they've had a very big update recently that made it faster. So it's telling me all these things I might need to build an app with. What I can then do is go, well, how about I will break this down to whatever can be made in HTML and JavaScript. Now, they are two languages that the web uses. Like pretty much if you're an interactive web page, it's using JavaScript. HTML is the basis of all the internet, the World Wide Web. So there you've got just two technologies I want to do because they can be done within a very simple interface. They don't require like databases and extra plugins to a server in order to do that. So let's just do a bit of breakdown of that. I'm using all three of these, not because you have to, but because I find that I get different results out of all three of them. So over here, ChatGPT is doing its long research, Gemini is doing its long research, and Perplexity is pretty much already coming out with some research as well. Like 2 minutes left to gather those sources and create a report. So what I'm going to do in the meantime, as it's gathering all that, I'm just going to start playing. Now, I don't need to use the pro version of Google Gemini, but I do use this one quite heavily because it creates really nice interactive reports and it's just very good at this. ChatGPT has kind of caught up in the last week though with GPT-5, so we'll do some of that in GPT as well. I'll just open up another window with ChatGPT in it so we can sort of see what it's doing now too. So in Google Gemini, I'm going to go, let's give it some instructions. I'd like to create a interactive and highly engaging and colorful interface for a calendar. And this calendar will be used for me to be able to make entries into that calendar with things such as the name and description of that entry, the start date, end date, start time, end time. I'd like some categories too. Make those categories work, study, family, and sport to be those categories in that calendar. And once we have that interface ready, I'd like it to be displayed with, something very clean like the Inter font. And in colors, I'd like them to be kind of a mix between pinks and blues and purples, very winter kind of colors. Let's see what we can do. So a mix between kinks and blues. I don't know if we want kinks, but let's just say pinks. I'll correct that and off we go. So it's going to start creating that. Basically, just creating an interactive app that it's going to do hopefully in a canvas. So I might do a bit of research first. We'll see how that goes. Now back over here, we'll see this is still doing its deep research into what we may require for that big app we're going to build. But our guys here at Perplexity have pretty much broken it down already. So they've said, here's the things that are implementable, some of the things that aren't implementable. So we've got CSS3, HTML5. I'm going to say, let's build this app. And I'm going to change it over. And in Perplexity, down the bottom here, you've got labs. So you've got the regular search, you've got the research, pro research, and then here the labs. So I'm going to create labs because that's where we create code and where we create these interactive things. So I'm going to say, let's build this app now. And it's going to open up. It's opening a plan first. It's going to gather all of its resources it needs to. And then it's going to start building that life coaching app with HTML and JavaScript and CSS, all the bases of a web page. It's essentially going to be a web page that you can interact with. So while it's doing that, let's pop back over and see what it's doing. Oh my goodness, look at this quickly now. We have a calendar. So it's shown us the interaction of a calendar. So it's created the winter colors I asked for. So I'm pretty happy with that. I can add a new entry and go, okay, team meeting, discuss monthly budget, budget results, budgie results. No. I'm going to start it on the date of the 13th. I'm going to end it on the 13th as well. Start time 10 a.m. and it's going to be probably 10:30. We'll make it. I don't think we need the whole day to be discussing your budget results, which basically means we've spent too much. There's going to be a work thing, so in it goes. And so now it's put that in there. I've created my own calendar. There you go. Well, that's great and all that. And this is in Google Gemini's interface. Well, what can it do? Well, what I can do is take this code here, all this code, and this will work on a web server. So what I'm gonna do, I did this early. Sorry, what was it? Monday, I think I did this. I showed you how you can create your own website in 13 minutes. We did that. So this is very similar. I'm going to log into my web hosting. I know this is moving very quickly. We are recording this though, so I'll put this on your on YouTube, on my personal YouTube, which is youtube.com/at Dante St James, or through the Darwin Innovation Hub YouTube as well. So if it is going a bit fast, I do apologize. There is a lot to cover in a very short time. So let's just say this is your web hosting if you've got some. I'm going to go into this one here where I've set up a lot of things. So reports.clickstarter.com.au. So it's like a little offshoot from my main website. And in here, I've got a file manager where I can create files. So even under site, file manager, and it might look different on your web hosting. This is just a really nice interface with SiteGround. Public HTML is where publicly visible web pages are stored. Under here, I've got all these little subfolders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this one under dev. And under dev, I'm going to create a new file called calendar.html. We put .html there because it is an HTML file. Now, I don't expect you to remember all this. I just want to show you what's possible because we can talk about this in another time and get some help through other programs to sort of implement some of this stuff. I'm going to open this up, and then I've got an open file where I've got nothing in it, and I'm going to put in the code over here from Google Gemini. So it's going to highlight all that and copy it, jump it in here, and save it. So what I've done now is made calendar.html visible on the web. So if I can go to reports.clickstarter.com.au/dev/calendar.html. Look, there it is. This is now live on the internet. You could go that same address right now if you're on this call at the right time. So we'll delete this later. And you could interact with this calendar and put things on it. So I could save things in there and it'd be all there. It'd be there when I come back to it. It'd keep that in there. So all it's doing really, I can click on any one of these dates, create a new entry. All it's doing is creating records in the code that will be there in the code and staying within the code. What it's not doing is creating a database. And that's another thing we can do later to create a database. I can just simply ask it, that I want to create this as a MySQL database, give me the database information, and it will do that. Although being Google, sometimes it gets a bit funny. It wants to use its own Firebase service instead of just a web hosting database. But I've done tons of these calendars for every kind of reason, and I can always get them to work in there with a little bit of fiddling. So again, I'm not going to show you all the ins and outs and everything, just a little bit of what's possible. This is probably one of the most basic things you can do. Another thing you could do is, say, for instance, you go to a news article. So let's go to a news article, something in, I don't know, maybe in technology. So in the technology news, it's all really horrible news. Good grief. Okay. Aussie families are using a lot of internet. So I'm just going to copy that story, which I'm probably not meant to do, but they can sue me later. In this story with this copy, I'm going to put this into, again, Google Gemini, start off a new chat, and I'm going to say, turn the following text into an attractive, interactive report in the pink, blue, and purple color range with the font of Inter. Down here, I'll just paste that in. What I'm going to do is put Canvas here, because Canvas is what you use in here to do things like websites. And this is going to create basically a website, but it's a report with all this stuff in it. So let's get that going. It's going to probably do a little bit of research and all that sort of decluttering. It's going to try and make some of the information a bit more concise and into something which is interactive and clickable. So it's taking some really, really complex information and making it more clickable. And it's already starting that process. Show you an example of one that I've got in here. Quite often my research on my website. This is things like getting started, or I worked out which version of the ChatGPT to use for different cases. That's now completely redundant because ChatGPT 5 is now in there. So if you didn't know what these models were, I basically got it to do some deep research on what all the models are and then design me an interactive report about this. So the models, the Scholar, the Wordsmith, it laid all this out in exactly what it is, in my colors, because I asked it to, in my fonts, because I asked it to, and with the same background as other areas of the site. So it gave me a really attractive report that's kind of You can click around it. You can even click within these to see different information in there, and it gives you a lot to sort of work within information. I had a lot of information in there. Like I said, it's all redundant now. Something else might be, say, for instance, the getting started with accountants. So I do this at the end of all of my big workshops and keynote speeches, whatever I've talked about. I turn it into an interactive guide for people to see. So in here, I've got all these interactive elements, the ethical principles. They can read more about it. So they've got something really attractive to click around rather than just a big, boring load of text, which they get enough of that at university. This gives them something so much more interactive that they can see with graphs and graphics that move around and adjust according to what you're doing. Actionable checklists you can put in there as well, which give them what their next steps are. And that was based upon a presentation I gave to a bunch of future accountants who are volunteering in a tax clinic during tax time, to help out people who may not have much idea what they're doing in tax. So if I get out of that calendar, because we're not working on that anymore, let's pop in and see what it's done. Here is the interactive report in the colors I asked for. Thanks to Google Gemini in using the inter font and my colors that I wanted. Based upon, it's even credited the original person, and it's taken that article and made it much more bright and interactive and much more attractive. So it's basically taking the article, condensing it, taking on the main information, and visualizing some of the data so that we understand the information more clearly. This could be a really valuable way for you to get important information that you're putting into blogs and long reports and turning into something really nice. Or it could be a client, maybe a client outcomes or a client goals that you're doing for, if you're a coach, you can make it really, really attractive for them. And you use your colors, obviously, your fonts. You don't have to use the same ones I've used, which are quite, kind of gently generic, I like to call it. And that's what we've done in there. So we can do the same in ChatGPT. We can do all those same things, especially in this GPT-5. It does a pretty good job of that. In fact, if I go backwards, I did one very recently. I did some Darwin population research, and I just asked it basically let's go back to the beginning. Give me research on Darwin's population trending over the last 10 years and extrapolate reasons for the fluctuations in population. And it asked me these questions. I answered those questions, and then it popped out this long report that I then wanted to turn into using the Canvas tool. So again, this is under here, Canvas, the more, and then Canvas, and that will start creating these HTML files that you can use on the internet yourself. So as I get past all that, we then open up the Canvas here. Let's have a look at what it looked like. This is what it looks like in code. Once we run that code, this is the report it gave me. And it did pretty much exactly what I asked for in those different colors. There, you've got some really nice graphs. Now, this is very new to ChatGPT. A week ago, ChatGPT was terrible at this. Now it's become really, really good at it, doing these really nice interactive graphics, data, notes, data visualization in a really nice way. So it's much more clean and much easier to follow and understand. So that gets us into there. That gets us into that bit. How about we go back to our original idea, which is to create our life coaching app. Now, Gemini is now caught up. It's now got all the researchers said for what it wants to create as far as an app goes and done all these cross references. Don't need to read all that. We've got the same thing over here in our guys from ChatGPT. So the core features for that. Again, it's a lot of writing in there. We don't necessarily want to read all of that. What we want to do is get, and actually Perplexity is now skipped way behind, is doing super deep research in the background that is probably going to take too long for this webinar to cover. So what I really want to do now, I've found out what all these things are. I'm going to take maybe the bit from ChatGPT. It's got a list of the core functions for this life coaching app. So what I could do is essentially take that, give me these as instructions to use in Base44 to make this app. So what it's going to do, it knows what Base44 is, which is the system we're going to use to make the app. And it's going to give me those instructions I want. Let's just assume I've checked all those instructions. They're exactly what I'm looking for. We're going to get those instructions. And this is exactly how I built a number of apps. And I'll get to you in a second and show you some of those apps I've built so you have an idea of what they are. Here's a clean copy-paste set of instructions, the master build prompt. The app name, Coach Link, primary users and roles. There you go. The data models it's going to use. It's already created what the data models are. It's going to tell it directly what they are. So it makes that process a little bit faster. Booking, session notes, goals, habits. So you don't have to understand all this. This is all the language it's using to tell it what to create in order to carry out that level of complexity with this app we're building. We're doing this step first because it actually fast forwards you through a lot of the backwards and forwards of talking to Base44 to get it to design your app for you. It's still going. Messaging, calendar, motivation, settings. This is a big app. So what I might do is I might say, this is really big. I'd like to sort of, simplify this down a bit. Can we simplify this down to the core three things that are most necessary on this app, because it's going to take too long to build it on this webinar. We don't have all night to watch it build that out. So I'm going to just take it down to the top three and let's see what it can do. It can give us a little bit more simple instructions to do that. Because meanwhile, over here on Base44, while it does that, I've been making some software. So one thing I made was a thing called Vibe Post. Now, Vibe Post, I've got interacting with all the different AI tools and image generators, and I've created my own interface to basically give me something that I could use. And it's also available for you for free as well. There's a I'll send out the actually it will be in when I put this onto YouTube tomorrow. I'll put the link in the description section so you can get that free link to get it until I think it's like free pro until the end of October that I've set. And I've set up all these different things that I would like to do in something like ChatGPT, for instance, like my own things like Vibe Magic, which is my magical way of, sorting out a particular kind. If I want to select my model, I'll select Claude Sonnet 4. Let's go for a Pro one, Claude Opus 4. So there's lots of different models of AI you can use in there. Then I want to make a post that's about actionable stuff, that's about striking advice. And then down here, the topic is going to be, you never quite know who your next client could be. And then the personal value I want to express is, I think, honesty. And then additional context I might put is there like a story. I could say, hopefully this little microphone thing will work, but I'll try it. I once met someone who didn't introduce themselves as where they came from, but I was really kind to them because they were asking a lot of questions about a very simple thing. And I just thought, oh, maybe they just don't know what this thing is. So at the end of the conversation, they thanked me kindly for all the help I can give them. The next day, I found out that they were actually the head of a department at a university that was looking to sort of get some people in to speak on a paid basis about what I do. Lo and behold, this person remembered me as being kind and informative and made things really easy to understand. And I got that gig. So I'm just putting in all that stuff. And then I want this to be a medium post link. There we go, creating magic with Claude Opus 4. And it's me. It's also trained on my voice and stuff. You never quite know who your next client could be. I once met someone who didn't introduce them, kept asking simple questions instead of dismissing them. So it's given me a medium level 566 character thing. I can copy that content, go off and put that into LinkedIn, and it's ready to go. So I was actually able to create this. This took me probably around about 6 hours of backwards and forwards over about 2 weeks to get this right. And I continually update it now, probably at about half an hour a week. I'll put a new fix or a feature in there to make it work. But this is the kind of stuff you can create. This is now a commercial product that's out in the public and able to be subscribed to. And it like 6 hours is nothing in the bigger picture of a commercial product. So that's one of them. Another one I'll quickly show you is one I actually released this morning. I'm pretty proud of this one because I think it's actually possibly the most useful one I've done so far, which is a quoting app. So we're going to Quotaroo that I built in here. And I can go back through every single conversation I had about this, right up to the entire, like the very first thing I said to it of what I wanted, and which was I want to create a quoting system as a clone of the Quotient system at Quotient app. I want to have all the same functional features. I want the system to have the ability to switch between business profiles. I basically gave it a set of instructions, and it's now created a quoting tool for me. So I just need to drag it across just a little bit so we can see more of it. There we go. I can create a new quote, select which profile, so I can have multiple profiles. The quote date, the quote expiry date is automatically put it to 14 days. I think, well, no, sorry, 30 days. That's pretty cool. The client name can be, let's just say, Geraldine McConaughey. Um, the contact person is Geraldine. I don't need to put in a phone number. I'm just going to skip that, but I'm going to put in one on my own email address so I can get hold of it, and we can actually go and get that. The client address don't need that, but what I would do have a tax rate. I'm going to say I'm not charging GST because let's say I'm not actually someone who is registered for GST. This is all squished up, by the way, because it's got this layout on the left. On the regular website, it's actually really cool. I could say, let's just say Instagram Reels times 6. So I can go, the description is reels making a quantity of 6 at, let's just say, $25 each, $150. It's calculated that. I can have terms, conditions in there. I don't really need all that. So I'm going to do a save and send the quote. This is now sending this quote to that email address. So I'm going to pop in once it confirms that it actually has done it. So it just goes, light while it's still processing, and now it's sent it. Okay, so I go into my email. Let's go and grab it. So it's not this one, it's this one over here. And that email should be there any second now. There it is. Quote from Clickstarter Education, Instagram Reels times 6. It's done a nice, attractive email for me. For it's attached that quote as a PDF. That took me about an hour just to work that out, which is ridiculous because these sort of systems usually take, a year or more to build, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I did this essentially in about 3 solid hours of work. And now it's also got a link to the quote here. So you can go to the quote, it will open the quote up and then allow that person to accept the quote or interact with it, like leave you messages about that quote. And they might say, for instance, they don't want, they can accept it, reject it, or they could say something like, can we make this 10 reels, please? And that will then go back to your account, prompt you to say you've got that. So if I go back in here, so you've got to know what you want to build in these things. This is not just me showcasing what I've done. This is more a case, I want you to see what is actually possible. So in here, I could go, for instance, into my messages, and it will show me this one, Instagram Reels times 6 is there. So I'll click on that, and there's the message. And I can respond to that message, and they will see it on their public version of the quote as well. Now, all I need to do is just basically generate an email that's going to go to them and say, your question has been answered. Or I can go and view the entire quote myself and see that. So it allows you to do business profiles. You can have more than one with your colors and your fonts and all that sort of thing that'll show up on the PDF. So it's a really cool system. And just on a side note, that's free lifetime for people who follow me on LinkedIn. So if you really want to know how to get this for free for lifetime, pop into my LinkedIn, follow me. One of the most recent quotes today, I think it was the one I posted at 7 a.m. this morning in Darwin time, has the actual code in there. I can't even remember what it is off by hand because I did it quite late last night. So that's what we can do. Going back to where we are, we've got this description of our coaching platform. We've got this scheduling bookings. Here we go. This is the really simple one we got. Guardrail setups deferred, not specifically in MVP. So I'm going to take some of this here, go into Base44, and I'm going to start a coaching platform. So let's go back out of here into my workspace. I'm going to go, I want to create a life coach platform with the following basic features. Now, this one does cost you money. You're not going to get this one for free, but it does, for me, it's more than made the money back because I'm doing this every week and releasing software. And it gives me the option to spread the things I offer. So I'm not just providing coaching or teaching or training or speaking, but I can provide a real live app for people as well. So for instance, if I'm doing something which I'm teaching people how to do something, I can create this little app that's got all the information in there. This is going out and now creating that app. So it's worked out over here what it needs to do, the design language, what key features it needs to implement, the app organization, and now it's starting to build that app out with each one of those, what they call entities, which is like the modules of the software it's building. It's building it rather quickly, like way more quickly than I thought it would. And look, these Base44 apps have a particular sort of layout of them, but you think about this, if you're creating software for yourself, you don't really need fancy layouts. You need something that's serviceable and easy to use. You don't need something which is going to be really, really difficult for you to use. Now, I apologize if you are doing questions and answers in the chat with Zoom. I can't see those at the moment because I'm just seeing my screen on here as we're going and creating this app. But yeah, if you're asking those questions, I won't be able to answer them tonight. But as I usually say to people, just reach out to me on LinkedIn and just ask me a question there, and I'm very more than happy to answer that when I have my sort of LinkedIn engagement time tomorrow morning. Tonight's a bit late to be doing that tonight. Plus, we're just going to be running a little bit over time because we're waiting for this app to create itself. So it's creating a client dashboard page. This one's taking a little bit of time, but it is the last step on that particular chain of actions it's taking to build us this app. And look, it takes a while, and that's good. What the beautiful thing is, we can go anywhere else and start creating things. Remember, tonight we've already created a calendar app, which I've put on the internet live. We've already created, gone and shown you the other things I've created. And now we're also creating a real live app right in front of us. So as that's starting to create itself, that's something we can look at as something that's possible. One thing you might need to consider is there an app already out there that does something similar to what you would like to do? So for instance, if you were saying, well, I wanted to do a quoting website, for instance, in my case, those websites already exist. Those tools already exist. There's plenty of them. My problem is that it cost me $29 a month for the one that I use. And I'm like, yeah, it's costing me less than that per month to use Base44 at the moment. So this is the craziness of it, is that I cannot actually see that. So let's see, the app's now starting to come together. We're editing the book session page. So it's creating a session. It's creating a page to book sessions. So yeah, if I can build my own software and replace lots of different things that I already do, that's going to save me money. But on the other hand of it, and this is where it becomes quite fun for you, is that you now may be able to sell these things. So these apps can integrate with Stripe, which allows them to accept payments. So for example, in Quotaroo, if I go back to the actual app as my admin user, you can upgrade at any time within this app, and it goes through the process of doing that through Stripe, taking the payments that way. So you can upgrade to Pro and then go through here. So say I want to go get Lifetime Pro, I've already got it, but it'll go through a Stripe interface. And there you go, $50, you got lifetime access, and off it goes, it gets paid for. So that's already integrated with Stripe. We can do things like integrate it with different AI models. At the moment, Claude and Gemini are the two AI models that are built into these apps already. So that's already used. You don't have to create a database outside of it. Some other tools like Lovable, which is another tool that's very similar to this, makes you create your actionable server side stuff like databases. You've got to create those in another tool somewhere else, which is kind of really annoying because it means you have to keep going and going backwards and forwards between different systems. Whereas Base44 allows you to do all of this in the one place, which does make that just a little bit easier. So as we're creating all this, still it's creating things, goal records, habit records. It's now created all the stuff. It's going to think a little, and then it's going to display us this app. So as this is doing this, it's pretty exciting. We've gone and basically created an app through a set of instructions that we generated from AI. Now it's using AI to make it. It's found some errors. See, it's already got some errors and it's fixing them live for us. So, oh, I found an error here. Oh, I better go and fix my error. And here is our new app called Coach Flow. It's starting to take shape on the right. And we've got a basic layout of this app we just built. So we could go, good evening, Dante, let's make today count. Here's what's on your journey. Book a session. So this would normally then book into a session thing. We haven't built the actual session booking system within it yet, but we can. It can have a list of habits you might want to build. You can book a session or message the coach, and it'll bring up the little loading thing. Here's your coach flow admin about to come up. A little bit slow at the moment, and we can search through any conversations or start a new one. So we can start a new conversation here, or cancel it. Now, at the moment, it's not working that well because it's just sort of done an interface for us, a really basic interface. So really, really basic stuff that's not really working that well. Remember, it's trying to fix those errors too. So we just said to do the very, very basics of it. It's doing a habit counter. What we then go in now and do is add things. So I want it to build out the session booking calendar so that I can book in sessions manually. Now, the one that I'm building, I'm going to release next week. Mind you, I only started building it today and I'm releasing it next Tuesday. Crazy when you think about it. We'll always have that interaction with your, say, Google and Outlook and iCal calendars. So it's one of those things where you can automatically get that availability. So we go booking the session manually. So I'm telling it in that very, very easy language to build this out because I'm kind of liking the feel. It's nice and chill, nice and not too overdone. Doesn't have a lot of navigation going on. In fact, it's just doing a bit of navigation over here, but none of this really strong like sidebar navigation going on. Really simple layout that will work also for a mobile phone. So you can see what it looks like within a mobile. So it'll convert to a mobile app very easily as well as we go backwards and forwards into the dashboard. So it's something which is going to work now. It's going into edit the client coaching page, which is going to then create the upcoming sessions calendar, and it will give that. So it's now creating us a coach calendar page, an interactive calendar view, a manual booking modal, which is a pop-up, and a client list page. So it's telling us what it's doing as it's starting to do that. So far it's built the client's coaching page, the coach calendar page, and the calendar week view component is now building out. All these are pieces of software. And this software doesn't then need to be, like we did before, copied and pasted and sent off to, somewhere. Excuse me, the throat's starting to go again. I had a tube down there recently, so it's made it very croaky. So the what it's done is it's basically, taking this and building it out step by step. So booking the session, it's not clicking on there. So I can say clicking on book session doesn't do anything. So I'm telling it is it's got some errors, and I'm saying that doesn't work, fix it. So it's going to think about it, going to go, yeah, you're right. It doesn't actually fix because linking to a page that doesn't exist yet. Let me fix that by updating the button to point the correct page. So sometimes it gets those things wrong and you need to go backwards and forwards to say, no, that doesn't work. And it figures out, oh, yeah, actually, I got that wrong. Sorry. Now it's updating the book session button by adding that missing link and wrapping the button with proper navigation and all that sort of stuff to make it look and work better. So now it's updating it. It's going to refresh the page. Hopefully, when we click that button, it should now do something. There we go, book the session. Now it goes out, choose your coach. So we can have a set of coaches in there we can choose from. Select the coach, select the time, put some notes in, request the session. So it's starting to build out our interactive booking of some kind of session booking tool with coaches. So you imagine you could replace something like Calendly with this. If you're paying $10 a month for Calendly, that could be one of the apps that you make for yourself. If you're wanting to do a customer relationship management system, you can do that in here as well. You can build your own. If there's all these ones out there that are too big and too cumbersome, you build your own. You get paid $25 a month or $50 a month US for Base44 and build all your own things in there. Like I'm paying 25 at the moment, I think, this month. Yeah, I think I did $100 in the first month. Now I'm doing 25 a month because I'm slowing down my development. I went a bit crazy last month. And for $25, I'll build 4 apps this month. Crazy when you think about it. And that will replace 4 apps that I'm paying much more for now. I've already saved $29 US a month just on my quoting software. So that's where you go, okay, maybe I can do this. You don't have to code. I'm not coding anything here. You don't need to know how to code. What you do need to understand is what you need your system to do. So either going to a system that already does it and saying, hey, Base44 or Google Gemini or ChatGPT, tell me all the features, tell me all the things that this particular piece of software does. Or you go, I've got a step-by-step set of instructions I want to do. Now, the best way to do that would not be to write all that out. I think the best way for you to be able to achieve that is probably to talk into it. So you need to probably, yeah, really, really need to talk into it and speak to it. Like I was talking to it before, where I was saying, hey, here's what you need to be able to do for this. Do this, do this, do this, do this, and actually speak, dictate it in. You can do that in the ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, they all do it now. Or most computers now have note-taking systems that you can actually dictate your instruction into. But that's the main thing you need to know is, what do I want this tool to do? Now, the other option is too, you can find people who use this now and they're producing so much new software all the time that you don't have to be stuck in that position where you're constantly buying off the shelf software for $150 a month that you simply do not need all the power of that system with. Just make your own. Now, of course, this begs the question, you're busy working or building a business. You don't have time to work all this stuff out for yourself. You kind of need a guide for it. And that's where we can come in through the Business Enterprise Center and Darwin Innovation Hub's work with the Digital Solutions Program. Haven't heard of this before? What it does, it's a federal government funded program which will allow you as an ABN holder. So if you've got an ABN or get one from a friend or something, to register you in for that program. And I can give you 3 hours of support on that to be able to do that. You can come and see me at the Darwin Innovation Hub and we can spend that time doing it. Or we can do it online as well. We can use these tools in order to learn this and a whole lot of other things too. So have a think about that. What works for you? What is you want to learn? And see if you can use that program. And if you've got more than one ABN, you get another 3 hours. So it actually works out pretty fun if you've got more than one ABN, or if someone in the family is not going to use theirs, hey, use theirs and register them as well and take the time. So that's all we have time for tonight. I know there's so much more we could do, and there's probably a billion questions you have. Like I said, reach out to me on LinkedIn or through my Darwin Innovation Hub email address. If you don't know what that is, you'll find it on my LinkedIn profile, or you can just get in touch with reception at Darwin Innovation Hub, and they'll do it too. I'll be doing a in-person version of this in October Business Month, really early in the month as well. So I'm doing it on, I think, a Saturday morning, so we can sit down for a good 3 hours and actually play and interact with these tools to build some real software that day. We'll have a bit more time to play with.